You're listening to Women in Sports, a weekly conversation with the legends, rising stars, and athletes making history in Minnesota and beyond. This episode brought to you by Franzen Bank and Trust. Welcome to the Women in Sports podcast. I'm Marielle Mose. I'm really excited about this week's episode. We have Elyse Kopecky joining us for a conversation. She's a runner, mother, New York Times bestselling author, and she's the founder of Run Fast, Eat Slow. Elyse is on a mission to help women fuel their bodies and achieve their health goals, and the best part, without overthinking or stress. I really enjoyed this conversation. I hope you do too. Elyse, thank you so much for being here. You're coming to us from where?
From Bend, Oregon. Excited to chat with you.
I'm so excited to have you here too. You've never been to Minnesota before, even though you're coming to this area early next year. But I wanted to talk to you about kind of your childhood and your backstory when running really became a part of your life and sports in general. Take us back to where you grew up and when you started your love for running.
I grew up in Charlotte, North Carolina. I didn't move out west until after college. I'm a Tar Heel, went to UNC Chapel Hill and ran competitively in college. I started running basically because I was really uncoordinated and wasn't good at any other sports, but I had that competitive drive. And as soon as I discovered running, I fell in love with it. And I've been running and enjoying it since I was 12 years old, and I'm now 43.
Wow, that is a long time for a passion to stick, because that doesn't always happen, especially with young kids.
Yeah, especially when your passion also becomes your career.
Yes, and that's what we're going to get into. So at what point did running running was your passion, but it was also in some ways revealing some things about you that weren't so wonderful. Tell us about when you kind of discovering some health issues as you were a competitive runner.
So I suffered a lot as a young athlete. In high school, I had multiple stress fractures. In college, I had multiple stress fractures. I suffered from also anxiety and digestion issues related to the food I was eating. And then it wasn't until much later in my career that I discovered a better way of eating, discovered that I had low bone density from not eating good, healthy fats, realized that butter is actually good for you, and completely changed the way I was eating, and all of my health problems that plagued my early running career and caused me to actually end up quitting the team in college because of so many injuries. All that, I've been running strong ever since I revamped my diet and started filling up on indulgent and nourishing whole foods.
Before you learned that food was key to changing things and finding success again, what were some of the things that you were hearing from health professionals about yourself, your body, and your future with running?
Yeah, so I grew up in the 80s and 90s. I was born in the 80s, but most of my running career was in the 90s and early 2000s. And it was really a message around low-fat everything. My mom wanted to feed me healthy as an athlete, but she really fell into like the fat-free dressings, the fat-free microwave meals, the low-fat, fat-free cookies. And as a result of that, as being a result of being a very active teen that was growing and had a really high metabolism to start with, and also was running competitively, I was very undernourished, and I suffered from amenorrhea, which is when you don't get your period as an athlete. And that's what leads to, you have low estrogen. So that leads to low bone density. And it's something that's really sad because you only have a set period of time where you can build up your bone density. Usually by your young 20s, you're already hit your max bone density. So it's something that could impact me much later in life. When I'm in my 80s, I could suffer from having osteoporosis because of not eating right as a young athlete. So I wish that my mom had known what I know now, and I'm raising a daughter who's 11. So I'm really big on making sure that she's enjoying food and eating the right foods and has a really good, positive relationship with eating good, healthy fats and things like whole milk yogurt and full fat dairy and things like that, that's high in calcium, but also has the good fat in there.
Yeah, I heard once from a friend of mine that I worked with in another city that he was an extremely healthy guy. And he always told me that fat-free is actually bad because it if it's less fat, it's more sugar. Is that true? Like, what's the misconception with the label fat-free or low fat?
So most foods that are fat-free or low fat are more refined, more processed. So if you're buying something like whole milk yogurt or full fat Greek yogurt, it's very minimally processed. But when you're going to buy fat-free yogurt, it's very highly processed. So it's really hard on your digestion. You're also stripping out some of the really good nutrients. And then usually, because anything fat-free has zero flavor, they're adding back in sugar or other artificial sweeteners or artificial flavorings like artificial blueberry flavor or something that they call natural blueberry flavor, which is usually not natural. The term like natural flavor is very broad of what that can include on a packaged food. So yeah, whole milk, butter, full fat from whole foods like avocados, nuts, and seeds is really good, especially for women and young teens. We really need that fat in our diet because it helps balance our hormones and helps with bone density.
What point in your running career, or maybe you had already quit in college by this point, at what point did you learn all of this? What was the game-changing moment for you to change your diet?
Yeah, so you asked me about medical professionals. I saw many doctors and not a single one of them in my teens or 20s told me to change my diet. But changing my diet absolutely changed my life positively. And that happened when I had the chance to move abroad and work abroad in Europe. So I spent 2 years working in Amsterdam and 2 years working in Geneva, Switzerland. And I saw the European lifestyle and approach to food was completely different from the US. They really celebrated food and coming together with friends and family and cooking elaborate dinners. And you would go to the market or the grocery store and they didn't have all these weird, like fat-free, low-fat options. You would like buy grass-fed ground beef from the farmer's market and there wasn't like the 99% fat-free version of it. It was just like one choice, which was local grass-fed ground beef. So my diet changed drastically when I went to Europe. And that was also when I started to get my period naturally for the first time was during the time living in Europe. I was eating olive oil. I went from eating, fat-free veggie burgers to full-fat grass-fed burgers, eating, low-fat plain white meat chicken breast to eating whole roasted chicken, and from eating low-fat dairy to full-fat dairy, because in Geneva, Switzerland, that was the only option. They didn't have all those other choices that make you question what you're buying at the grocery store.
Wow, that is so fascinating because we are just taught even today, I think probably more so in the 80s and 90s when you were, living with your mom at home still, but still today, like we're being just told all the time, like get the fat free. That's the better option, the healthier option. And it's just so interesting that you've learned through all your research on yourself that that's not the case.
And also, fat is really important for satiation. So if you're not getting enough fat in your diet, you're more likely to crave sugar and the quick calories. So fat is a really good, easy to burn energy source for athletes. And it's also going to be more satiating. So you're less likely to reach for the chips and chocolate and candy.
A page of that advice. I, for some reason, always have room for dessert. So that's probably where I'm making that mistake.
I'm still a fan of desserts, especially homemade treats. We always have dessert options in our family. I have 2 young kids, and kids, I want them to have a really healthy relationship with food. So we always have ice cream in our household, and we always have all of my homemade baked treats for my very active 8 and 11-year-old.
I love that. And I'm just curious. You said you finally got your period when you were abroad in Europe. How old were you at that point?
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of crazy and embarrassing, but I talk about my period a lot at public events. So I never got it naturally in high school or college. After working with team doctors in college, they put me on birth control so that I wouldn't keep getting stress fractures. But they didn't suggest changing my diet. They just prescribed me the pill, which covered up the symptom, but didn't address the root cause of the issue. So it wasn't until I was 30, I think 31 or 30, 30 or 31, living in Geneva, when I decided to go off the pill and change and realize like I felt so much better eating the food over there. And it was also a really memorable moment in my life because my husband and I had just gotten married and we knew that we wanted to start a family someday. And I had been told for years and years that I would have trouble getting pregnant. But changing my diet helped me get pregnant on the first go with our daughter and no problems with both kids. So I really credit what I learned living in Europe with being able to have 2 healthy pregnancies and 2 beautiful kids today.
That is incredible. I mean, I would be so afraid that not getting your period until your 30s, that would have such an impact on fertility. And that's incredible that just a change of your diet changed your whole future.
Yeah, I've had a lot of emails from women over the years. My first cookbook came out almost 10 years ago in 2016. And I just still get emails to this day from women who have tried everything, have tried in vitro fertilization, and then start following the recipes in our cookbook. And a lot of the women are athletes, so they really need the high calorie, nutrient dense foods. And then when they start eating the recipes in our cookbooks, they end up getting pregnant naturally. And I always love when I get a letter or an email hearing that story, because it's definitely the first reason why I set out to write these cookbooks.
Wow, that is true life-changing work you're doing for other women. And speaking of your first cookbook, you were able to help another athlete cross the New York City Marathon finish line first. Tell me about that connection, that friendship, and how you were able to help her.
Yeah, so I started working with Olympian Shalane Flanagan right after I ended up leaving my corporate career to go back to school and study at a culinary nutrition school in New York after I moved back from Europe. And the first person I got to mentor and teach how to cook and teach how to incorporate all these delicious, healthy, nutrient-dense, indulgent foods into her diet was Shalane Flanagan. She's an Olympian, has one is the most decorated American distance runner, but also a special friendship because we were college teammates and college roommates. So we've known each other since we were 18. So gosh, 25 years we've known each other and we're still friends. So we wrote all 3 cookbooks together. And during that process, she was training for the New York City Marathon. And she told me that she really feels in her heart that changing her diet is what fueled her to that first place finish at the New York Marathon. Because when she started moving up in distance from the 5K to running marathons, she just felt hungry all the time. And she was, snacking on pretzels and cereal and sugary things. And then when I told her, like, maybe you just need to eat butter or eat these indulgent superhero muffins or incorporate more of these whole foods into your diet, it changed her energy level and she was able to train better and recover faster.
Wow, that is truly incredible. And I love that she's also contributing to all of your cookbooks, which you have 3 of now, by the way.
Yes.
You've been so big for just helping other women and advocating for other women. What is some advice you have for women who feel really disconnected from their body and don't even know where to start when it comes to trying to help themselves and make a change?
Yeah, I think first of all, they should cut themselves some slack because there's so much misleading diet information pushed at women. The weight loss industry is a massive billions and billions dollar industry. There's so much marketing, and seems like every year there's a different theme of like obsessing over protein or obsessing over low carb, low fat. It changes constantly. But I just like to teach women to stop counting numbers in the kitchen. Math does not belong in the kitchen. And when you stop doing that, you get back in touch with listening to your body's hunger signals. And when we get away from eating, it's okay to have some ultra processed foods in your diet, but if you're eating a lot of the ultra processed foods, you really lose touch with your cravings and what your body actually needs. So the ultra processed foods can really change our taste buds. But when you get those out of your diet, foods like a handful of cashews and dates can feel like really delicious and satisfy your sweet tooth. So I really like to teach women to ignore what the latest message is on Instagram or the latest diet trend, not get caught up in really scary headlines of like, there's always something like all of a sudden kale is bad for you, or rice has arsenic, or protein powder has heavy metals. Like, get away from those big sensationalized headlines and just cook. Like, you don't have to stress. If you can cook at least one meal a day from scratch, you're on your way to feeling a lot more energized. And when you feel a lot more energized, you're going to sleep better, you're going to balance your hormones better, you're going to have more energy to work out or do a sport that you enjoy. And I think it's really important for women to find a workout or a sport that they love. Running is definitely not for everyone, but being active is something that brings so much joy to my life. And I think a lot of women don't experience the joy that comes from working out because they don't have the energy, because we are all stressed and overworked and managing multiple things, whether it's a career or a family or adding a workout to your daily task list can feel like a heavy burden for a lot of women. And you won't enjoy sports until you are fueling with the right foods.
Wow. You spoke to so many people, myself included, in that last thing you just said. I mean, I think that's my biggest thing is I know I love working out. I know I love being active, but so often I'm just too tired in the morning, and it's probably because I'm not fueling my body correctly. And I really appreciate you saying, get rid of math in the kitchen. That was another freedom. Thank you for that.
Yeah, so many women do these crazy, like long fasting and don't eat before working out in the morning. But it's so important to have something small and easy to digest before your workout to jumpstart your metabolism, wake up your digestion, and get things moving. And I am a big fan of, I've changed the way I eat before working out because of one recipe in our first cookbook, which is now in all of our cookbooks, our superhero muffins, which provide really balanced energy, protein, fat, and complex carbs to fuel you before you go to the gym or go for an early morning run.
Yeah, is this brand new? You said it's a recipe in all your cookbooks, but what about this superhero muffin is you're excited to announce?
Yeah, so because everyone is so busy, women are really, really busy. I wanted to make our superhero muffins really approachable because they are made with they're made with grated fruits and veggies. So making it from scratch takes a lot of time and effort, and you have to buy all the ingredients like the oats, the oat flour, the almond flour. So I'm really excited because we just launched our first baking mix, and it's a wholesome baking mix to be able to make superhero muffins in 5 minutes prep time just by adding eggs, butter, and water.
Amazing.
And it's no added sugar. It's really wholesome ingredients, really clean ingredients, and sweetened with just dehydrated fruits and veggies and dates. Actually, I have it right here I can show you if you want to sneak peek.
Yes, let's see. Oh my gosh, I'm so excited you made it so it's easy because so many people just don't have the time to make healthy things. So taking that step out is huge. What flavors do you have there?
So I think this will really help a lot of busy women with kids. It's really appeals to kids and a lot of busy athletes to have something that's perfectly balanced to eat before you get up in the morning, if you get up early before work to work out.
What flavors did you have there? I saw you had 3 different packages.
Yeah, so this one is apple cinnamon with sweetened with dehydrated apple and dehydrated shredded carrots. It's real carrot that just rehydrates when you add the water. And then this one is beet berry. It has freeze-dried raspberries and beet powder in there, alongside all the other wholesome ingredients that are in our original cookbook recipe. And then our kid favorite one is the chocolate banana. It's got sweet potato and dehydrated banana in there, and it's real dark chocolate. So that's great. And you can sweeten them up, but it has no added sugar, but people can choose to sweeten them up by adding chocolate chips, which is great for kids.
Awesome. Wow. Yummy, yummy flavors. I'm just curious what your relationship with running is today after going through all the hurdles you've been through, quitting in college, now as a mom. Like, where does running fit into your life?
Yeah, I'm as a founder and a cookbook author and a mom with 2 young kids. I don't always have time to run every single day, but it really I have a really good relationship with running because when I do run, it just makes me so happy. And I don't put pressure on myself anymore to train for like a specific time or a specific race. I hardly ever even wear a watch. I just like to get out the door. It's my me time. It's my like seeing the sunrise when I do go 3 or 4 mornings a week in the morning is like the best time of day to me. I'm lucky that we live in Bend because there's access to really beautiful trails right out our door. And then there's a big running community here. So it's also my social hour. I usually don't have time to hang out with friends unless I combine it with a run. So it's always a great way to catch up with friends and move my body and feel really good afterwards and during.
Love that. I mean, dang, I've never been to Bend, but I've seen pictures. And if I lived in Bend, that would be motivation enough to be outside all the time, whether I'm walking or running.
Except for in the winter, I usually switch to Nordic skiing and less running in the winter. I don't really like running on snow and ice. And I really think it's important to cross train and mix up your type of workouts. So in the winter, I do more strength training, less running, and more Nordic skiing.
Nice. That's good advice because some people think like, I can't quit. I have to just keep going somehow. But cross training is good and diversity and working out is good too. Every podcast episode, we switch things up in the middle to just do a little bit of rapid fire. Are you down?
Sounds great.
Okay. So I'm curious, not being a Minnesotan, what was your fave sports team as a kid?
Oh gosh, I don't know. I didn't really follow like big sports. My 8-year-old son is really into following U of O football right now, the University of Oregon football. But yeah, I didn't grow up following any of the big sports.
That's okay. What about today? Like, are you bandwagoning with your son and getting on the Ducks football track, or who are you cheering on today?
Yeah, the Ducks all the way. The Ducks for cross country, the Ducks for football. We live just a couple hours from Eugene, and my cookbook author, Shalane Flanagan, is the head coach of the women's cross country team. They just won the Big Ten. So we are a big Ducks fan. I'm also still a big Tar Heel fan. I don't have any affiliation to any professional teams still. I think because we're so busy and we like to spend our weekends outside, we don't do the whole Monday night football thing in our house yet. I'm sure my son will bring that on to us soon though.
Yeah, well, once you start the NFL track, all fall, every day in the fall is football. There's no breaks. So
Also,
enjoy the Ducks while you can.
Yeah. Also, we are Dancing with the Stars family. We watch Dancing with the Stars every week.
Me too. Oh my gosh. Okay, so this season, who are you cheering for? Who do you think's going to go all the way?
We always tend to cheer for the athlete. Like my daughter and I are huge Alona Meyer fans from was that last year or 2 years ago? We always cheer for the Olympic athletes. So it's hard to say, but yeah, I'm blanking on the Olympic
Jordan
gymnast.
Childs.
Yes, thank you.
Yes, I'm rooting
Jordan
for her
Childs.
too. Oh my gosh, she's doing so well and obviously can just tear it up on the floor because she has all of her gymnastic skills.
Yeah, I haven't watched this week's. We watch it on Thursday nights, not live, so don't tell me what happens.
Okay. Shh, I won't. I love that you're watching Dancing with the Stars, and we brought that topic to the podcast, though. That makes me very happy. Okay, what is your current hype song? So when you're cooking in the kitchen, you need some music. What's pumping you up?
It's embarrassing, but I have an 11-year-old daughter that's really into music and dance, and her and I are obsessed with the entire Taylor Swift album, of course.
Love. Oh my gosh. Believe it or not, you're the first person to say Taylor Swift is their hype song. So thank you for saying that.
Yeah.
And are you listening to the newest album or is there a past album that's on rotation?
No. I love the new album. I think it tells so many different stories.
Yeah, it's a good one.
Yeah.
When you're not cooking or running, where else are you finding your joy these days?
That's a good question because I've been so busy with launching my first company. I'm getting a lot of joy out of starting a family business and having my kids involved every step of the way. I get so much joy out of like we eat dinner together every night despite being so busy. So I guess family dinner, most of our conversations revolve around like running a company and the questions I get from my kids. I just see their little minds are like learning every step of the way of what it's like to be a female founder and what it's like to run a company and what it's like to like figure out all these challenges along the way. Some are more stressful than others. But we just launched our superhero muffin mix in the very first grocery store today, and we're surprising our kids tonight by taking them to see it, and they don't know that it's in the grocery store, and they've been asking for a year. So I can't wait to see the look on their faces when they see it on shelves for the first time after 12 months of hard work.
Oh my gosh, they're going to be so proud of their mom. That is going to be such a special moment. I can't imagine.
Yeah, and their dad is my co-founder, so he's behind the scenes on everything. He just doesn't get the credit, but they know that he's the one washing all the dishes for all the muffin mix testing and supporting the operations and sales and everything.
Well, this is a good transition to our last rapid fire question, which is, what's one piece of advice that always stuck with you? Well, while your kids are looking at you and admiring you with all these questions about what it's like to be a female business founder, like, is there something that's been a through line for you that's always stuck with you that you kind of pass on to them?
Yes. Always dive into something before you figure it out. So I think a lot of people get held back because they're not an expert yet, or especially for women, we feel like we're not good enough, or we don't know how to do something. When I started writing my first cookbook, I had barely ever even written recipes. I was not a chef, a trained chef. So I've always believed just to dive into something and learn as you go.
I love that. That's good advice, because there's no time like the present. Just try and get your questions answered along the way versus holding back.
Find good mentors who can teach you along the way if you get stuck.
You are good friends also with Jessie Diggins, who is sort of a Minnesota sports darling here. You have worked together quite a bit. Can you tell me a little bit about your friendship, how you got to know her?
Yes. Jessie Diggins reached out to me a couple years ago when she was in Bend for her spring training camp. She comes here every year. And ever since then, we have made a point to go for a run together when she's in Bend, because she is a huge fan of the Run Fast, Eat Slow cookbooks. They've really helped her in her journey. She's very vocal about some of her challenges with eating disorders when she was younger. And our cookbooks came out at just the right time when she needed that support of recipes for athletes that really didn't focus on dieting or weight loss, and instead just embrace that food is meant to be enjoyed and food should be celebrated. So I actually have an email that she sent me 10 years ago when she pre-ordered our first cookbook. And I hope I replied to her because I don't remember, but she's been a fan from the very beginning and she's been so supportive. We actually got to teach a live cooking class together last spring when she was here. And that class is on my website, runfasteatslow.com, and it's recorded. And it's a great class for young athletes to watch and cook together and learn new recipes.
How rewarding is it for you when you hear from people like Olympian Jessie Diggins that you've changed her life and transformed her life? Like, what does that gift give you?
Yeah, I mean, that's just like what keeps me going. I really work weird hours. I try to be done working every day by 2 p.m. to be available for my kids. So emails like that or stories like that are what get me up at 5 a.m. so I can crank through some work before my kids wake up, and it just keeps me really energized. And sometimes my life is so like fast paced. I'm like, I don't take the time to soak up these stories and really appreciate like these kind of moments with Olympians or other athletes. But I hope someday when I'm retired, I can like really, be proud or inspire my daughter, my son to have a career that really gives back to their community. And for me, my community is any endurance athlete or runner or Nordic skier.
But anyone can, athletes can benefit immensely from your cookbooks. Like, truly anyone can. They can see transformation, right? Like, you don't have to always be an athlete to benefit.
Yeah, I think people get intimidated by our cookbooks because it's called Run Fast, Eat Slow. And a lot of people like to make jokes about how they don't run fast, but they do eat fast. So the run fast, as the title, does not actually represent running. It represents just that we all are living such a fast-paced lifestyle, and how important it is to take the time to slow down and cook food from scratch and enjoy food and share it with friends and family.
You're going to be reuniting with Jessie Diggins here pretty soon, early next year. You're going to be coming to sort of our neck of the woods, Hayward, Wisconsin, for a cross-country ski event called Ski to Ski, focused on women, health, and sports. What does it mean to you to get involved in events like this, even though they're not running? What for you, why is this kind of event something important you want to partner up with?
I love the Nordic community. It's kind of similar to the running community, where it's just draws really great people together. And I only started getting into Nordic skiing a couple years ago. So I'm excited to come, one, because I completely missed a Nordic camp that I signed up for last year, because my daughter ended up being in a championship reading battle, and
Ooh.
I really improved my skiing. So I'm excited for the opportunity to learn from some of the best coaches at Ski to Ski and participate in my very first Nordic race, but also just excited to share nutrition knowledge with that community, because I know that they are very similar mindset to female runners, and that the information that I share and sharing superhero muffins with them will really resonate with Nordic skiers, since they're so like-minded to runners.
Definitely. And there are so
And I've
many
always
Nordic skiers in this area. Say
I've
that again?
I have friends in Duluth who have come on my running retreats, and I just keep hearing such amazing things about the area. And I literally, the only place in the Midwest I've ever been is Chicago. So I'm just excited to see a new part of the country.
Yeah, if you can embrace the snow, which it sounds like you're able to as a Nordic skier yourself, you're going to love it. Because I think the best part about Minnesota and Wisconsin is we don't say no to snow. We embrace it and we learn how to live with it. And we remain very active in the winter here. So I think you're going to really love it.
I think it's so good for mental health to be exposed to harsh elements in the winter. Like, it makes you appreciate the small things in life, like coming inside and having a hot cup of coffee, and then just like gets your body to experience, cold and heat. And I think it's good for us. We live too much of our lives inside, and at even 68 degrees. So yeah, I'm excited to spend more time outside this winter.
Well, we wrap up all of our podcasts the same way every time. We ask our guests two questions. The first one being, who is your sports sis to hype right now? Is there a woman in the sports world, whether that's an athlete, a coach, or someone behind the scenes, that you think we should all be paying attention to? She could be out there in Bend, or at University of Oregon. Who are you loving right now in the sports world?
I love Alona Meyer. I mentioned her name earlier. She is just putting such a positive message out there for women, really positive around body image. And I just love how hilarious she is, and lighthearted and funny. And just like watching her on Dancing with the Stars was amazing. She's really strong and beautiful, and not your typical like athlete that gets, in the media. So I just love like her different approach to everything.
I couldn't agree more. Her being out there and proud of her body type and her strength is so refreshing to see. I love it. And finally, what is your why? Why do you do the work that you do?
That's a deep, deep question. I just am inspired to do this work because I suffered from so many health problems as a young athlete that were unnecessary. And I want to inspire the next generation to be able to enjoy sports, and to keep young girls in sports longer, and not we have like a pretty high dropout rate when kids get to middle school and high school in sports. And I think for young teens, being like, my daughter doesn't have a choice. She's going to be on a sports team in middle school, because I think it's so important for teens when they're going through so many changes, and hormone changes and friendship circle changes, and everything that happens in those awkward teen years. Having a sports team was such an important impact on my life. And I want other girls to experience that. And I want moms to be a really positive influence around healthy eating habits. I think a lot of young teens pick up on weird eating habits from watching their moms, whether their moms have something ingrained in them or fears around certain foods. Like kids really pick up on that stuff. So I want to end that getting like handed down to the next generation.
I love that. That is so important and so common. So I think every woman, every son who has their parents around can relate to what you just said and can easily pick up on these easy tips to make changes that are transformative. Elyse, thank you so much for being here. And I also want to make note, registration is still open for the Hayward event, Ski to Ski. You're going to be the keynote speaker. Any encouraging words to come on out to Hayward, Wisconsin early next year and get some Nordic skiing in?
It's going to be an amazing group of women, a great group of coaches, and a really fun event. And we're going to have superhero muffins at the event for breakfast. So it's a great chance to try those out. And I'm really looking forward to it. I hope I get some snow in Bend so I can actually practice before I come.
Awesome. Well, there'll certainly be some snow here come January. So thank you so much, Elyse. Really appreciate your time. And thanks for all the life-changing advice.
Thank you, Marielle and team, for having me on your podcast today. I can't wait to share it.
Thank you for listening to Women in Sports, a weekly conversation with your favorite female athletes. Find us wherever you get your podcasts. We'll see you next week.